How's it going, everyone? It's Ben Foggin's Media Corner back again with a brand new video for today. Welcome back to another movie review, aka for a Soul review video for today. For this new aka for a Soul review video for today, this is going to be my review on a brand new release film for 2022, which this movie came out 2 days ago around the globe. And I did see this movie on opening day, which was Friday, and I was planning to review this film yesterday, but I had work. But since I'm off work till Thursday, I feel like I should make this video already, so here we go. Today's review is going to be my review on the 2022 superhero film, and this is the 30th installment of the MCU, while also being the final film to Phase 4 of the MCU, as well as being the sequel to the 2018 hit film as well. Which this is, of course, my review on Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Now, this was, of course, directed once again by Ryan Coogler, who made the first film, which was a huge hit back in 2018. It made so much money at the box office by making billions of dollars, and it met with critical acclaim by both critics and audiences. It was considered the most critical acclaimed MCU film ever, and it even received numerous awards, including 3 Oscars, which I could definitely deserved those awards it received for. And it was even nominated for Best Picture as well, even though it didn't win for being the best film of 2018 though. But anyway, so in this sequel to Black Panther, we follow the people of Wakanda, who are basically fighting to protect their kingdom from intervening powers, while they're mourning the death of King T'Challa, aka the Black Panther, who is of course portrayed by Chadwick Boseman, who unfortunately isn't in the sequel because for one obvious reason, which is of course that Chadwick Boseman sadly passed away back in 2020, so may he rest in peace. So we follow some of the original characters from the original film, which consists Queen Ramonda, once again played by Angela Bassett, Okoye played by Danai Gurira, Sherry once again played by Letitia Wright, and M'Baku once again played by Winston Duke, and Nakia once again played by Lupita Nyong'o. So we follow these characters as well, some new characters who basically have to protect Wakanda from deadly forces out there who of course threaten to basically destroy their kingdom. So that's pretty much the story of Wakanda Forever. Now, like I said, the first Black Panther movie was met with so much critical acclaim for both critics and audiences, and it was even considered one of the most critical acclaimed MCU films to date from a few online sites such as Metacritic and Rotten Tomatoes. And unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to see the movie in the cinemas in 2018 though, but my dad saw the movie in the cinemas that year, and he had a great time with the movie. But I did manage to watch the film just before 2018 came to an end, so I did watch it at home, and I gotta say I definitely agree with what everyone was saying about the movie, because for that film it was so awesome and very exciting and fun, and it was definitely one of the best MCU films ever made, one of the best superhero films of that year, and even one of my favorite films of 2018. And like I said, also this movie also received numerous awards. Like it won 3 Oscars, which for those awards they won for, I could definitely say that film definitely deserved the awards it won for. And it was even nominated for Best Picture as well, which really surprised me. I didn't really expect the film being nominated for Best Picture, and obviously it didn't win that big award. Green Book won that big award though. But when I found out that Ryan Coogler was making the sequel, of course, I was really excited to see what he can do for the sequel. And he even finished the script just before the film was about to begin shooting. But unfortunately, back in August of 2020, we all heard the tragic news that Chadwick Boseman sadly passed away from cancer, which really blew us all away, and it really shocked the whole world, myself included. And when I found out about it, I was just shocked, and I was very, very upset, as well as my friends who were also big fans of Marvel like myself. It just really blew us all away. And I was wondering like how they're gonna do the sequel. Like, were they gonna recast him, or are they just gonna add him in the movie but make him CGI? Like in Furious 7 they did do that when Paul Walker was still making the movie, but unfortunately he died and they had to add him in by CGI'd. I thought they were going to do that with Chadwick Boseman for the sequel, but there was nothing like that. And I also kind of felt for Ryan Coogler as well, because he did, like I said, he did do the script just before Boseman just passed away, and so unfortunately he had to change the whole film and change the whole story, which I did really feel from what he had to go through. And when everything was changed, and once the trailers dropped by before the film was about to come out, I was still excited for the movie. But once I saw the first trailer, I was like with everyone. I was just like what everyone was talking about all over the social media. Everyone couldn't stop crying. I was like crying my eyes out, and I just couldn't stop crying. It just really got me emotionally. And once the new trailers dropped by as well for the sequel, of course, I was excited. Really, I was like very, very excited for it. And so, like I said, I went to see this on the 11th of November of this year. And for my screen, there was quite a lot of people on my screening, but it wasn't like massively packed though. But still, though, there's quite a few people on my screening. But after walking out of this movie, I gotta say, Wakanda Forever, I had a great time with this one. And is this movie as better than the first film? I don't think so. But this still is a great movie, though. Although I only have two flaws with the movie, but we'll get to later on during this review. But the things I can definitely say that are worthy of checking out the sequel is its storytelling. I thought it was very well told by Ryan Coogler himself, although I can imagine it was very hard for him to basically change his own vision he originally had in mind from his original script they did make just before Chadwick Boseman passed away. But still, though, the storytelling for the sequel I thought was very well told and yet very, very emotional at the same time about the death of Black Panther himself. And this film also does a great job of honouring Chadwick Boseman in a heartfelt tribute, not just as Black Panther, but for him as a person as well. And for seeing that on the big screen here, it really hit me so hard emotionally that I couldn't stop crying my eyes out. Because, you know, for Chadwick Boseman, he was such a beloved person, and he was easily one of the best things out of the MCU, as the character of Black Panther, like in his own movie, as well as for appearing in a few other MCU films, like outside of his own movie, like in the Avengers sequels. And so for having a movie without him, like I said, it is very, very, very sad. And speaking of its storytelling, while despite the main storytelling being very well told, there are some storylines in the film, like for some of the characters here in this film, that just didn't quite work out for me whatsoever. They didn't anger me again, it just didn't quite work out for me whatsoever though. And but anyway, the direction by Ryan Coogler looks very, very beautiful for the world of Wakanda, as well as for other worlds that were introduced to in the film, like the underwater kingdom where the villain lives. I thought it looked absolutely beautiful. And the action scenes, of course, are really exciting and fun to watch, even though this film doesn't really focus a whole lot of action, because it just mostly focuses on the emotional stuff. Since this one is one of the most emotional MCU films here. And speaking of emotions, despite the film being quite sad, being tragic and emotional, it does tend to have some humorous moments, even though it doesn't really focus a whole lot on that. But it still manages to have some good amount of humorous moments to basically lighten up the mood. And the CGI in this film I thought was much improvement of the first film, because that's the flaw I did have with the first film, is that there are some noticeable CGI, mostly towards the finale. I thought the CGI the second time around here in the sequel was very well handled, much better than the first film. And the music as well, just like its predecessor, was just great, just like how the first film did. And the runtime of the film is pretty long. It's 2 hours and 41 minutes. Despite that runtime being like that for the sequel, I just kind of wish a few minutes of this film could have been shaved off. It wasn't like, because even though there wasn't any scenes in the film that didn't drag on whatsoever, because despite the film being a slow burn, I still managed to get myself more invested with the film. And I do tend to enjoy slow burns if the story and the characters are very well developed. But if the movie is a slow burn and it has some characters in the story that isn't well developed, I just tend to find them as boring, even though there is a differences between boring and slow burns though. And as for the acting in the film, I thought everyone was absolutely terrific in the film, like Angela Bassett, Lupita Nyong'o, Letitia Wright, Winston Duke, and Danai Gurira. Everyone else, they were just all terrific here. And as for the new cast in the sequel, I thought everyone was just terrific as well. Like the actor who played the villain in this movie, I thought he was great in the movie, and everyone else as well. They were all great here in the sequel. And overall, in the end, guys, Wakanda Forever, it was definitely a great yet emotional superhero film. And I can definitely say this is definitely by far the most emotional superhero film I've ever seen in a long time. Because again, for obviously one reason, which is of course Chadwick Boseman. And again, if you're a massive fan of the first film, or if you're a massive fan of the character of Black Panther, or a fan of the cast or the director, I can definitely say you'll definitely have an absolute blast with this one, just like I did. Despite its two flaws, this one still managed to be a great superhero film, as well as being quite emotional at the same time though. If it is playing a local cinema near you, definitely go out and get a ticket for this one and get yourself a bucket of popcorn, or even just take your friends to see the sequel as well. So that's pretty much all I have to say about Wakanda Forever. I'm gonna give Black Panther Wakanda Forever 4 out of 5. Despite its two flaws I did have with the sequel, I still managed to have a great time in this one. And I can definitely say I can consider this one as one of the most emotional MCU films they've ever done here. And also forgot to mention, I enjoyed this one a lot more than Multiverse of Madness and Love and Thunder. Even though I enjoyed both those films, but they didn't really meet my expectations though, being great films though. Those I can consider good films. This one, I can definitely say I can consider this one as a great MCU film here. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching my AK-47 review on Wakanda Forever. Let me know what you think of the sequel if you just recently checked out the sequel, if you've already seen it. Did you have a great time with this, or were you very disappointed with this? As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and this has been Falcons Media Corner signing off.